start that. Okay, I apologize, forgot to record. Okay, so step one is prospecting. As we said, the most important part of your business. So when I first started in WFG, I don't think I had even heard of the word prospecting. Some of you may have come from a background in sales. You know what prospecting is. My background is in psychology. I was a therapist for about 13 years before I came full-time into WFG. I was part-time in WFG for 4.5 years before I replaced my income as a therapist. I literally made more money here part-time that year than I made full-time as a therapist. And I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. Let's transition from my clients and I'm coming here full time. But I had never heard of prospecting, didn't know what it was. And prospecting honestly made me uncomfortable. Now we have some people, I have one of my top agents here, Nicholas Lynch. He came in, he loves prospecting. Like he could walk down the street and talk to anybody, no matter who they are, what they look like, if they're in like super sharp suit, or if they're, looks like a mom walking down the street. Either way, he can talk to anybody. That was not me. To be honest, it's still not me 100%, but I've grown, I've developed my confidence. And that's the beauty of recruiting, is I can find people that love recruiting, like a Nicholas Lynch and many others on my team. And then now my team will continue to grow. So when we look at prospecting today, we're going to talk about different aspects of prospecting. Some will be more in your warm market, which are people that you already have current standing relationships with. And some will be how to develop new relationships and build relationships with people. So let's share my screen here. All right. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes.
Perfect. So let's look at 8 characteristics of effective prospectors. So these are essentially characteristics that you want to say, hey, do I have these characteristics? If not, how do I embody some of these characteristics? So 1, they're enthusiastic and optimistic. That's one of the things, for those of you that know Nick, everybody will say his energy. He has high energy, incredibly enthusiastic, right? Optimistic. Number 2, fierce competitiveness. Are you competitive? Now, a lot of people will say, that's not me. I'm not really competitive. Trust me, you have some competitive nature in there. Okay. You just got to find it and find what sparks that. Confidently expect to win, persistent achievers. They seek accountability and feedback. They're hungry to increase their ability to connect with other individuals. They're not personality driven, system driven to build big prospect lists. And then number 8, situational awareness. So they're able to quickly adapt. Successful entrepreneurs are flexible. They are not rigid. All right. Kind of go with the flow. Whatever's happening. All right. That's okay. Let's keep moving. So step 1 with prospecting, we have 3 different areas essentially where you're going to get your prospects from. So first is warm market. All right. So your warm market, as I mentioned earlier, are people that you have standing relationships with, friends, neighbors, relatives, coworkers, previous coworkers, pretty much anybody and everybody that you can think of that you know. Now, when you think of that, you want to say, well, I don't want to talk to anybody and everybody. That doesn't make sense, right? One of the big things about WFG is that we don't have to make cold calls. I've never made a cold call in my life, and I honestly don't care to, don't want to. So now, because we're able to leverage relationships, when you have a relationship with someone, no matter if it's kind of, they're more of an acquaintance versus someone that you know very well, there's trust within that relationship. So the first area that you prospect is in your warm market. Now, when you're in training, you're just starting in business, let me tell you right now, you are not going to become a millionaire because of the people that you know. Okay. More than likely, your team is not going to include people, down the line, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 years later, if you decide to stay here that long, which many of you, to be 100% honest, won't. It's just the way that it is. It's human nature. But you need to, if you look on the gallery view right now of all the participants, you can look down. The person who's below you, you can look up at the person who's above you, and you can say, I will be here. All right. We had a joke at the, well, it's not really a joke, but it was kind of a saying, but somewhat of a joke at the last year's WFG convention, where it was talked about the 10-year room. All right. And when people were on stage, there was an individual who asked, okay, stand up if you're brand new, like this is your very first convention. Many people stood up. I'd say the majority of the room stood up. Then he said, stand up if you've been here at least 5 years. More people stood up. And then he asked, stand up if you've been here more than 10 years. And the people that stood up that had been here for more than 10 years were all in the front. They were all $1 million and up earners, all the people that had most of the people in the arena, right? So when you're in the 10-year room, you've made that commitment to be here for 10 years. And I promise you, you will reap the rewards of that. So your warm market is not necessarily the people that are going to go to the top with you. Hopefully you could take 1 or 2 loved ones with you if that's something that they're open to, but more so you're using your warm market for referrals, to get practice appointments, to really get the reps in and training as to how to do appointments and how to have the conversation. Second, we have the friendship borrowing system. All right. So I love the friendship borrowing system. So now what you're doing with the friendship borrowing system is you're borrowing friendships from other people. So you're able to borrow that trust. Okay. So let's say, for example, I asked a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, I said, hey, I'm really serious about taking my business in a vertical direction for 2021. I'm looking for a few people. Do you know anyone who has a really great work ethic? Do you know anyone who's bilingual? Do you know anyone who has really great integrity, very trustworthy? So now I'm able to borrow the friendship of someone else and still have that mutual trust. And then a lot of the time when I do that with people, they say that, they're like, well, wait, what about me? Right? So you're kind of going roundabout where you say, hey, I'm looking for a few people. But at the end of the day, they may also say, well, I'd love to speak more about it. So that's friendship borrowing. And then lastly, we have friendship farming. Okay. So friendship farming, essentially, you're turning strangers into friends. Now, friendship farming at times can take a little bit longer, and at other times it can happen really quickly. But essentially, you're planting seeds to build relationships. So I don't want you to be out there like, oh, that person, that's going to be my next client, and that person, that's going to be my new agent. Just have the focus of building relationships and who you specifically want to build relationships with. So it may be someone that you used to be, close friends with, or someone you used to work with, but it'd be kind of weird for you to just randomly hit them up and be like, hey, I'm starting in a business. We're looking for people, want to have a conversation about it. They'd be like, well, where have you been the last 5 years? Okay. So maybe you start farming and building that relationship again of, hey, it's been a long time since we've seen each other. Let's grab coffee. Let's grab lunch. Or maybe you meet somebody out and about and you think that they, look very professional, but maybe at that time it's not appropriate to prospect them then. But you can say, hey, I'm always looking for successful people to associate with. I'd love to grab coffee or grab lunch at some point. Okay, so now you're starting to build that relationship over time. So those are the 3 main ways that we're able to prospect. And we'll talk about each of these a little bit further. But do we have any questions here on this page? Going once, going twice. Okay, perfect. So let's look at the new associate who's developing their top 25. And we see here it says their launch top 25 list. So a launch is essentially your grand opening in business. I hear a little bit of background noise. Just unmuted or just came in. If you could mute yourself, literally almost unaffordable for most people. It just doesn't make sense really. Somebody's listening to Steve Haig's training also. I can hear Steve Haig's voice. I know that well. Okay. So when you are creating your top 25 is essentially a list of people that you want to connect with about our business. They are people that you think may benefit from possibly being a client, possibly being a new business partner. But what I want you to do, you can see here, in the 3rd paragraph, it says, resist the tendency to eliminate people from your list. You may say, oh, that person's too busy. They're already successful in what they do. They already make great money, so they probably have a financial advisor. Try not to eliminate names from the list and make that decision for them. Let them make the decision for themselves. Okay. So when the person who essentially prospected me into the business, she was my stepmom. And when she called me and asked for help with her training. She didn't call me and say, hey, Pavi, do you want to be a client? She didn't call me and say, hey, Pavi, do you want to be a new business partner? She said, I'm excited. I'm in training. I need your help. I value your opinion, and maybe you can give me some referrals. It's a script. It's called the Ethor script. And guess what? It works. I'm here and still here almost 10 years later. All right. So she initially thought that I was going to be a good client. She didn't say it to me, but she thought it. All right. Now, when I sat down with her and with Dan, that conversation completely shifted and I came into business with them. So you also don't want to make that decision prematurely with an individual because you never know what direction it will go in. So with your top 25, just think of the people that you know, and we'll go through what's called the memory jogger. But this is, here, who do you want to do your training appointments with that you're comfortable with, that you think can benefit from what it is that we do? And your top 25 is not just something that you do when you're new in business. Your top 25 is something that you're constantly working on week after week after week, because you're always meeting new people, you're getting new referrals, you're having conversations with different people over time. Like I literally just had someone message me on Instagram who I probably have known him now for like 4 years and have been prospecting him for that long. And he just messaged me and he was like, hey, we need to talk about me working with you. And my response was like, why do you need to do that, right? Take it away a little bit, not just like, okay, let's talk about it, right? Why do you need to? Why is now the time for you? But you stay around long enough, people will come around. Okay, so now when we are doing your launch, whether it be a grand opening that you have, whether they be one-on-one one-on-one meetings, you want to make sure that you are in the right market. All right. It took me years to really master this, but also to build my confidence to feel like I could be effective in the right market. You can do hundreds of appointments in the wrong market and get little to no results. And you can do just a few appointments in the right market and get huge results. So when you are doing your top 25, as we said, don't eliminate anybody, but I want you to be intentional about who you are setting appointments with and who you're focusing on. All right. So we have here what are called the 8 qualifiers. So the 8 qualifiers represent characteristics of an individual that will find more value in what it is that we do. So in my fast start, I always give the example of Nick. I see you on here. This is the other Nick, not my Nick, the Nick who was excited, participating a little bit earlier. So Nick, let's say that you and we developed some sort of a children's toy. Okay. And Nick and I are deciding where we are going to advertise for this children's toy, right? So if we have a children's toy, are we going to advertise on the Cartoon Network? Are we going to advertise on MTV TV, if that's even still a thing? I don't watch TV. And then, or are we going to advertise on the Seniors Network? We'd probably get the best results by advertising on Cartoon Network, right? Because all the kids are going to see our toy, and then they're going to tell their parents that they want this toy. So same thing with our business, where when you're having appointments with people and you're thinking of who should I add onto my list, who should I speak to about this, you want to make sure that they would find value in it, that they're in essentially the proper advertising category, okay? So one, are they over the age of 25? Now, keep in mind, there are what are called outliers, all right? Outliers are maybe they don't represent the majority of these or even any of these sometime, okay? But they can still be successful here. And you've seen many examples of that. I had just turned 25 when I started in this business. I think it was like 7 days after my 25th birthday. You have Steve Haig, who's doing the general training today. I don't think he was even 21 years old. You have Jay Jr., who's now just crossing over $500,000 a year. He's been here about close to 10 years now. He started at like 21, 22 years old. You have so many examples of people that were under the age of 25. So it doesn't mean that they have to be 25. But again, someone who's under the age of 25, they're typically not thinking about saving money, investing money, building a business. They also just haven't had a lot of life happen to them. Okay. So sometimes you have to go through life and some jobs to realize, hey, this isn't all that it's cracked up to be. But okay. So there we have over the age of 25, they're married, they have children, they're a homeowner, they have some sort of a solid business or career background, they have income. Okay, we can't sit down with someone and talk to them about saving money, investing, retirement planning if they don't have any income. And don't waste your time going through a financial analysis with people that don't have income. They're possibly dissatisfied with their current situation, with where they're at in life, and maybe they are entrepreneurial minded. All right. So the more of these a person has, the more value they will find in what we do, the more value you will get out of your appointments that will now contribute to your promotions, your 117, your 3330, 101030, et cetera, et cetera. And the more you're going to learn. So when I first started in the company, I sat down with all of my friends who were 25, just like me, or younger. And I grew up in Los Angeles. Many of them were models, actresses, dancers, weren't married, didn't have kids, didn't have stable jobs. They could care less about what it is that we do for the most part. So I had a lot of first appointments in my training appointments, but I didn't see how to do it all the way through. All right. So you're also doing yourself a disservice if you're focusing on people that are not part of these 8 qualifiers. Do we have any questions on this page? All right, good stuff. So let's look at what we call the restaurant example. So I promise you, all right, that no matter what, when you are doing your field training appointments, no one that you sit down with will ever feel pressured, will ever feel any sort of bad taste in their mouth, will ever feel like you were trying to convince them to do something, or that you're a trainer if you're not able to do it by yourself yet, which is the situation that most of you are in. They will never have that type of experience. And I know in the beginning, sometimes we're a little bit hesitant to create our list and to put people that we really respect and people that inspire us on the list because we're worried about what they're going to think. Okay. So when we look at this restaurant example, take business out of the equation for a moment. Okay. And I see Sultan on here. So Sultan, let's say that Sultan and I, we're going to open up a restaurant. Okay. Let's say that we are opening up a Mexican restaurant. All right. And when we open up this, he likes that one. We're excited about that, right? So we're going to open up a Mexican restaurant. Wouldn't want to be in the restaurant industry, especially during this time, right? But that's what we're going to do. So now, once we open up this restaurant, we need to have the venue. We need to have the menu set. We need to hire the cooks, the servers, the food runners, the managers, the hostess. We need to make sure that we have the tequila list, right? We have all these different things that we put together for the restaurant. Then prior to opening up to the real world, essentially, we're going to have what? Sultan and I are going to have a grand opening. And at that grand opening, who are we going to invite? Are we going to be, I'm not really sure, let's have a limited list? Or do we want to invite everybody that we know so that everybody that we know now knows and is aware that we have a restaurant? Because the more people know that we have a restaurant, the more customers we're going to have, the more referrals we're going to get. So when Sultan and I have that grand opening, there are going to be one of 4 options that will occur. Number one, some of the people are simply going to be impressed. And that is the number one intention of our grand opening, is we want to make sure that everybody that comes, they're impressed with the ambiance of the restaurant. They're impressed with the service. They're impressed with the food. They love the food, right? Because that will then, that will unfold forever, essentially. So number one intention is to impress them. Number 2, some of those people who are impressed are also going to refer other people. They're going to say, hey, my best friend lives down the street. She loves Mexican food. I'm going to tell her that she should come try it with her husband. Number 3, some of the people are going to become regular customers themselves. They're going to say, this food is delicious. My wife and I have a regular Friday night date night. We'll come here once a month. And then 4th, some of them are going to want to come into business with you. They're going to ask if you're hiring any more servers, any managers, or they'll see the big picture and they're going to say, hey, this is an awesome concept. Let's go open up 5 more of these. So now you're going to have different people that have that same response within business, no matter what sort of business that you're opening. So next we look at the baseball example. So for those of you that know Ed Milet played baseball, huge baseball fanatic. So he developed what's called the baseball example. So let's relate this now to our business. So first base, our number one focus when you are doing your training appointments is not to sell to somebody. It's not to make somebody a client. The number one intention is to give the individual that we are now on the other side of the screen with, to give them a positive impression with our company, with the education that we provide to our communities, and with what it is that you're doing now. We promise no matter what, they will be impressed. Then some of the people are going to move to second base. Now, the people that are at second base, they're going to give you referrals. They're going to say, hey, you know what? This information is really awesome. I already have everything that I need set up, but you should talk to so-and-so. Third base, they're going to want to do a financial needs analysis themselves and become a client. They're going to say, hey, no one's ever done a complimentary financial analysis for me. Let's do that. And then fourth, which is now a home run, they want to come into business with you. So one, this is important for you to know when you're doing your training appointments, but then two, also for you and your mindset to not expect, oh, this person's going to be a client, this person's going to be a recruit. Again, you don't know. Okay, so take that pressure off of yourself, off of your trainer. Don't put it into a box. The message here is we just want to impress that individual. They will be impressed. And anything outside of that is on them. All right. Any questions for us here? Sultan, we'll talk about opening that Mexican restaurant. Okay, so we have here what's called the memory jogger. So if you haven't done this, or maybe you created your reference list and now you're working, on your list even further, this memory jogger is very helpful. Incredibly effective to help you think of people that you know. And you can just go through this. Who do I know that lives across the street from me? Who do I know that's adventurous? Who do I know that's ambitious? An apartment manager, my apartment manager, a previous apartment manager, co-workers, that's a dancer, that likes to do hobbies, plays baseball, recently got a promotion. So you can see here many different characteristics of people, careers, different things like that will help you think of either people that you know, maybe it's someone that your spouse knows, maybe it's somebody that your parents know, somebody that you used to work with. This is going to help you work on your list because now our inventory in WFG is people. If Silton and I open up the restaurant, our inventory is food, right? Food and people, because we need people to come eat the food essentially. In WFG, your inventory is people. You need people coming through your doors to have conversations with, to give you referrals, to be your clients, and to be your business partners. So this should look somewhat familiar to you. I know many of you are now doing electronic top 25s. My team, we do it on Google Sheets so we can share it. I know some of you also, add your prospects into BSC Pro and whatnot, but here is a list of that top 100, top 25, and then, more detailed. So what you can see here, first column, you add in their name. Second column, are they a relative? Are they a friend? Are they acquaintance? Their phone number. And then you can see here in this column, you see numbers 1 through 8, those are the qualifiers that we talked about. So you would put a 1 if they're over 25, a 2 if they're married, 3 if they have kids. So then you can see the people that are more qualified than others, essentially. All right, so let's look at prior to the pandemic, what was occurring versus now. So prior to the pandemic, agents were creating top 25 lists weekly, and now things have shifted because now there are millions of Americans that are looking for opportunity, right? That have been laid off, that have been furloughed, lost their jobs, everybody's home. And now you have more opportunities to prospect on LinkedIn, social networking sites, apps, etc. So here are, actually, let me go back for a moment. So here I would say like some of just the main ones, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Let me go out of this for one moment because I can't move my mouse. Okay. Move this here. Okay. So LinkedIn is great. I know a lot of people are getting some results there. Some recommendations that I would give you for LinkedIn prospecting is don't just prospect a whole bunch of random people. You can have LinkedIn Premium, as it says here. It can also be effective. Maybe I know you can get LinkedIn Premium for 30 days for free. You can try it out for free, but maybe you're not in a position to have LinkedIn Premium. Nicholas, how much is LinkedIn Premium again? Is it like $30 a month, $50 a month?
I think it might be a little more than that.
Yeah, I think it's like $49.99.
$49.99.
Yeah, I think it's almost 50.
Okay, great. Which is absolutely worth it. Like you think of like $60 a month, you get, if you have one new recruit, you should have at least 2.5 clients per recruit that you have, that should be paying you anywhere on the low end from $1,500 to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a recruit, right? But here, so let's say that you can't afford LinkedIn Premium. Something that I recommend that you do is you can, when you don't have LinkedIn Premium, you can't just automatically message people. But what you can do is you can connect with them first. You can go through a list of people, connect with them, and then once you're connected, then you can message them, and you don't have to have Premium to do that. So my recommendation to you would not be going through LinkedIn. Well, one, you have to create a LinkedIn profile if you don't have one, right? Make sure that it looks professional. Make sure that you put your work history, volunteer work, whatever it is. And now think of groups of people that are relatable to you. Okay, so maybe you work in the restaurant industry. So you should be connecting with people that also work in the restaurant industry. So now when you message them, you're not just sending random messages of, hey, my firm's expanding, we're looking for more people. No, make it more personal. Hey, I see that you have a background in the restaurant industry. I worked in the restaurant industry for 10 years, which I didn't, but I'm just, pretending that I did. I worked in the restaurant industry for 10 years. I find that people that work in the restaurant industry are really great with people. They have, really great patience. They're great with multitasking. It seems like from your profile, you fit some of those characteristics. I'm looking for more people. I'd love to have a conversation. So make it personal. Maybe you went to a specific university. Maybe you went to UCLA, USC, Cal State Northridge, Cal State Long Beach. You should be connecting with people from those same universities. So that's my biggest recommendation there, is that you're connecting with people that have a like background with you in some capacity. All right, you'll get a lot of really great results there. Then obviously Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, other social media groups. How are you presenting yourself on social media? Are you presenting yourself as the individual who, posts some weird things? Maybe you post partying, going out, or are you posting motivational quotes, showing that you are a family, you have a great family, beautiful family, a business individual. It can be fun. Make it real. My Instagram is very real, but it's also very personable and professional. So you want to make sure that you have a good mix of both of those. Some other alternatives we have here, Meetup. I love Meetup. It's a great way to build relationships with other people. Again, look for things that you can relate to. I have a dog. I'm sure many of you have dogs. There are meetup groups for people to just go hike with their dogs together and go for dog walks and whatever it is. Great. That's an opportunity for me to get out and meet more people. And you see Pinterest and et cetera, et cetera. So these are other places where you can just, connect with other people, build relationships. If you play video games, there are tons of people that you can connect with on the video games, right? That you're messaging on there and whatnot. So build those relationships. Okay. So branding is a huge concept here. Sorry, it's tough for me when I make this big. I can't see the whole slide. Okay, I'm gonna put it back there. All right. So you're continuously developing your target market. Okay. So branding is a big part of that. And we talked about that with social media, which is important how you brand yourself, but you want to make sure that you are engaging with your community in your social media, whether that be, let's say somebody is liking your photos and then you like a photo back, you're commenting on their posts. If let's say someone has a birthday or they get married or something, you can like it, but then you can also comment, and they're going to notice that more, obviously, if you comment and they see you as a supportive individual for them. Okay, so let's talk more about friendship borrowing. So there are different ways for you as an agent to get referrals. Now, I was thinking about this earlier this morning. I'd argue and say that 99% of my business comes from the team. Whether that be me training and developing my team, getting referrals from people on my team, getting referrals just from, warm market of people that I know. And I know some of you on here in this class have been here for quite some time, you would agree. And that's the beautiful thing about WFG, that and that's where your focus, once you get licensed, your focus should be, how do I become a certified field trainer? How do I get validated, whatever it is that your team calls it, because then you're able to train other agents. And that's where you're going to get the experience. That's where you're going to get the majority of your activity. So there's different ways for you to get referrals. That number one, you see it says number one, top 25 from a new associate. So now when I train somebody, I'm training them. And again, the intention of training them is not to sell to anybody. It's not to get a recruit. It's to give a positive impression. But I know through training a new associate, people are going to find value in what it is that we're doing, that person is doing, and new clients will come from that. So will new agents. So I have two of my somewhat newer agents, Marley and Rebecca, on here. So Marley was a client. So talk about prospecting. I'm going to take you through this entire, scenario, essentially. That's the word for it. So I'm going to take you like all the way back, actually. Okay. So Nicholas Lynch, you should be able to see him as like the second box on your thing. I can. Because he was just talking, you guys should be able to as well. But Nicholas Lynch, I met him at a restaurant. He was my server at a restaurant. And guess what? I prospected him. He wasn't somebody that I knew previously. I was at the restaurant with my brother. Nicholas is very enthusiastic, very energetic. He was talking about nonprofits that he wanted to put together. And I asked him, I said, hey, you have really great energy. You seem like you're just a really passionate person. Do you see yourself working here, for a long period of time? And he was like, absolutely not. I'm here to be an actor and these nonprofits I want to put together, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, okay, well, I have a firm in LA. I'm looking for a few people. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. And I said, when you bring the receipt back to me, okay, you guys should be doing this. When you bring the receipt back to me, write your name and your number on the back of the receipt, and I'll give you a call in a couple days. Okay. I ended up losing the receipt. We went to the annual convention the next week. I lost the receipt, but I remembered his name, and I called the restaurant and I specifically asked for him. Okay. Now that's another key. So maybe sometimes you're at a place and it's not appropriate for you to ask the person right then and there for their name and number, but you can call back and ask for them and just say, remind them of who you are. So I prospected him. Nick's now been in business with me for, almost 4 years now. A large part of my team has come from him. But you fast forward, there have been a number of different new agents on his team since then, one of whom is named Rashad. And Rashad was at our Wealth Bowl with us last January in San Diego. And Rashad prospected one of the security guards there. And they started talking about investments and saving money, et cetera, et cetera. And, they were following up for a couple months talking. And then we sat down with the security guard, whose name is Stefan, and his now wife, Marley. And we have a number of different meetings with them. They both become clients. And I planted a seed with Marley. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a few people to train and mentor. You seem like you're very personable. I know you're looking for, a different transition in your career. If you want to talk about working together, I'd love to have that conversation. And at the moment, she wasn't ready. She called me a month later and she said, hey, I'm ready. Then I take Marley through her training program. Okay. We developed her top 25. Marley, come on and say hi for a second so that people can see you, because I want people to put faces to the names here. So you can even just unmute yourself, just say hi, and then your body will pop up. So that's Marley. Okay. So Marley, we sat down with her and her husband. Then she became, a new agent. We created her top 25. And on her top 25 was she and her husband are both best friends with another couple, Wyatt and Rebecca. So Rebecca, you come on and say hi. This is so cool that I could do this right now.
Hi, everyone.
I didn't even plan this. All right. Then we see here Rebecca. Okay. So Rebecca, then we did a training appointment with Rebecca through the top 25. Okay. So this is why this is number 1 on the list. We did a training appointment with Rebecca. Rebecca, did you ever feel pressured to be a client or to be an agent, anything in that capacity?
No, not at all.
Okay. But she and her husband were impressed with the education we shared with them, and they wanted to become clients. And they became clients first. And then I had planted seeds about us working together. And then Rebecca came into business with us. And then now Rebecca creates her top 25, and we're going through all those training appointments. All right. So this is why I never have to make any cold calls, because I have new agents that are coming in. I'm training them, developing them, teaching them how to be independent and how to do what we do. They're creating that top 25 list, and that's where all those referrals are coming from. Okay, so perfect example there. Next, we have the emergency response system. You guys will learn about that in time, but that's essentially, with your clients, if there were an emergency, who would you call? If there were an emergency with you, who would take care of your kids? Those are all referrals that you should be getting from your clients. Next, follow-up social networking, referrals from online meetings, client referrals, you should be getting referrals from your clients that you're sitting with. Some people like to say 5 to 10, 8 to 10. I like to say more so 2 to 3. That made a big difference for me in business because 5, 10 referrals can feel like a lot on a client. But if you say, hey, give us 2 to 3 referrals of people that can benefit from this, I think that that's a little bit more palatable and they're able to take that on. And then number 6, center of influence. Okay. So we have a center of influence where now I want you to think of also when you're creating your list, who are people that you know that are centers of influence? Maybe they're a pastor at a church, they're a teacher, they own businesses, maybe just in their friend system or in their community, they're a center of influence. And those are also people when we talk about your associations and who you're trying to connect with and build relationships with, those should be individuals that are centers of influence as well. Let's see here. So referral standards, let's keep moving. Let's see here. Okay. This is a good one. Tips for calling referrals. I would say for referrals, for prospects, any of it, call right away. Okay. So if you prospect somebody and, one of my affirmations that I say every day is I follow up within 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes you forget. Trust me, if you forget, you think that they haven't forgotten. Okay. Don't give your number to somebody else. Don't give your business card to somebody else and say, hey, call me. You can, but make sure that you get their number as well. Okay. Because they're not going to call. In my 8 years, I have never I have so many new agents that are like, I need to get my business card so I can give my card out. What do you do with business cards? Where do they end up? They end up in your back pocket, in the washing machine. They end up in your drawer, in the trash. Okay, so make sure that you are getting even if you're giving a card or you're giving information, that you're also getting that person's contact information as well, and call right away while it's still hot, while they remember you. 24, 48, at most 72 hours. All right, this is a big one. So with the friendship borrowing system, a way that you can help people think of how to help you. If you call somebody and you just say, hey, I'm looking for some referrals, who can you refer me? They're going to be like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Okay. But if you say, hey, I'm taking my business in a, vertical direction, as I mentioned earlier, I'm specifically looking for somebody who has a background in sales. I'm specifically looking for someone who has a background in teaching, someone who's enthusiastic, someone who's ambitious, money motivated. So we have this acronym STEAM. So this is a way for you to think of people to add to your top 25, but also when you're asking others for referrals, you're helping them think of it like you have different files in your brain. So when Dan met an individual who referred him another person who then referred him Joseph and Batsheva, who are my SMDs and a number of you on here, he didn't just say, send me somebody as a referral. He said, I'm looking for a married couple who has children. They make a 6-figure income. They already have experience in the financial services industry. They're a center of influence in their community. Very specific. And the person and you can even say, and they may say, hey, I can't think of anybody right now. And I'll tell them, you may not be able to think of somebody right now, but keep me on your mind, right? And over the next couple of days, let's follow up, because maybe then they have a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh yeah, that person kind of fits the box that Rebecca's looking for. I should refer Rebecca this person. Okay, so S stands for someone who has a background in sales. They're a great salesperson. They do well in sales. They're a teacher. Maybe they're a Sunday school teacher. They're a pastor, something like that, or a teacher. Maybe they're just studying to become a teacher. They're enthusiastic, high energy. They're ambitious. Okay, they have a great work ethic. They're that person that but most likely to succeed, like in your high school yearbook, right? And then they're money motivated, somebody who is significance driven. Maybe they drive a nice car, they wear nice clothes. You can tell that that kind of money, significance, visual things drive them, or maybe they've always made great money and that they want to make more money. That's the thing, is like in WFG, a lot of people try to focus on the people that don't have jobs and don't really make money. The people that make money and have experienced success, they appreciate the financial concepts, right? They want to have every way that they can, have tax advantages and not have to pay taxes. And they don't think it's like some weird thing. The people, most of the time, people that are broke are skeptical, right? So if you feel like everybody I talk to is skeptical, it's probably because they haven't achieved great success in their life yet. And they're coming from that sort of a mindset and perspective versus somebody who, like, I know I'm never going to be introduced to anything that's going to hurt me. I know that I'm protected in life, and those are just things that I believe. So what sort of belief system are they coming from as well? So someone who's money motivated, this is huge. So STEAM, that acronym, is a big one. I want to get to form as well. So form is great for, oh, I see it's blocked off here. I appreciate, I apologize about that. But form is great for when you are prospecting people out and about, like I did with Nicholas. You guys saw that Franklin is another person who was teaching a class today. He's another top guy on my team. Franklin was also prospected at the gym. One of my agents is a member of Equinox. He saw that Franklin is a manager there. He went up to Franklin and he said, hey, I always see you here. People say great things about you. It seems like you're really great with people. We're looking for people with management experience. Do you keep your business options open? Franklin said, of course, gave him his number. I called him. The rest is history. Okay, so when you're having these conversations with people, think of the acronym FORM. So F stands for family. I know it's blocked off. So when you're talking to someone, maybe you're in the Starbucks line, maybe you're at a restaurant, maybe you're at the park with your kids. I was joking with Rebecca about this the other day. I was like, I wish I had kids and I can just go to the park and meet other people that have kids. I'd be a weirdo if I'm like, hey guys, I'm just here, So, okay, do you have a family? Where's your family from? Where did you grow up? Where do you live? Do you live in the area? Just different questions that you can ask to get to know somebody. Number 2, occupation. What do you do for a living? Oh, you're a therapist? Great. How long have you done that? How did you end up in that industry? What do you like about what you do? Do you like what you do? Because then you're going to find a lot of people are like, ugh, I hate what I do. I don't make enough money. My management is terrible. So then boom, that person may be open to a business opportunity. R, recreation. What do you do for fun? And then M, leave them with a message, right? So this is stuff that, now cold prospecting out and about, how I prospected Nicholas, how Franklin was prospected. Things have changed a little bit just because of the times that we're in, but it still works and it works effectively. So you will see that big teams are built through prospecting, friendship farming, and turning strangers into friends. So we only have a few more moments here together. So I just want to go through any questions that you guys have, some of your takeaways. I can see there were some, you guys were conversing a little bit in the chat room. I don't know if any of those are questions. Let me see here. Should we ask for email addresses? I mean, how often do you check your email very well? I mean, I don't really like doing email addresses, phone number. We give our email address to people that we don't really like and we don't want to contact us. Where can we access these slides and top 25 spreadsheet? Speak to the person who's training you, speak to your SMD. You should 100% be able to have a top 25 spreadsheet if you don't have one already. All of these recordings and slides are also included on the Synergy financial. There's a link where you can go. I can put it in the chat box for you guys right now. And this is where you can go for all of the Synergy financial recordings of all the classes and whatnot. What other questions do you guys have?
Hi, Pavi. I have a question.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, this has been really great. Wanted to know, I'm not really big on social media yet.
Okay.
And so what are some things you would suggest to start posting right away? Should we use things on Campaign Manager to kind of get going? If this is something new and you don't really know what to post, how to post,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to answer quickly just because we're going to transition soon. What I would start, if you're starting on social media, start with you. People are following you because of you. So start with you, photos of you. If you have a family, it could be a mix of you and your motivational quotes and stuff. But if you make it just about business, there's not really anything to relate to it, so make it about you and who you are, what you stand for. If you're spiritual, whatever it is, make it about you, your beliefs, what you value, make it personable and make those connections. And then you can start bringing in more of the campaign manager, the business stuff.
Hello,
Great question. Yes, Trell.
Yeah. Yes, I have a question. Do you keep going back to your same family during over the course of a certain period of time?
Yeah, follow up always, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's prospects. In the beginning, your family does not see you as the financial professional. They don't see you as the financial advisor, right? So they're probably not going to trust you in that way, which is also why taking a field trainer with you is important. But your family is the number one person to help you, your specific personal family, and then obviously your loved ones around you. So never stop trying. Ever, I believe. You want to make sure that everything's taken care of and never stop trying with them, with your prospects, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So I really struggle with trying to find people in general. Like, I don't have any friends. I have family that is not super supportive, but I feel like my best bet is probably going out into the world, like if I'm going shopping or whatnot. I feel like that's gonna help me a lot better. But I have a garage sale coming up, and I feel like I want to take that to my advantage.
Okay.
So is that a good idea, or is that
Yeah, I mean, and if you have family that's not very supportive, welcome to the club. Okay. I remember my best friend was like, this is, whatever. If the majority of us would have listened to our families, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now. Garage sale is a great way just to meet people. And, those are probably going to be people that are in your neighborhood. But if you feel like right now you don't have a ton of friends, then you got to get in the position of making more friends. Get on those meetups, the people that have common interests that you do. Start taking walks in your neighborhood and talking to people around there. Like, your focus should be making more friends in the friendship farming that we talked about.
yeah, and it's definitely tough for me. Like I know like everybody has their own situation of like friendships and all that, but I just feel like me as a person, like I would do better with talking face to face than over a text message.
I agree. Yeah. And text messages are not very effective. And, just get out there. And also, then find some people who do maybe have some friends, that do enjoy connecting with people and whatnot. But I'm the same way. I have to connect with somebody. So just get out there and get out, maybe instead of ordering things on Amazon, go to the CVS, go to the market, whatever you do.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I think we have time for one last question. Anybody else? We're going to be transitioning soon.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I enjoyed this.
Of course. Well, I hope that you guys got some great value out.
You can design this for a child as soon as they're 15 days old. You can get a child in one of these. So check this out. So I wanted to just say, here's a 30-year-old. He just had his firstborn child, let's say. And that means in 18 years, his first child's going to be going to college. Everybody see that? So here he's got right now at age, he's got $305,000 in his account. If he dies, he has $830,000 going to the family. So what happens is, like, and I'm going to be doing this for my kids. If my kids are about to go to college, and this is very important. So if you've checked out right now mentally, please check back in with me, because what I'm about to share with you right now is a huge point that you can make to your clients. So right here, you're like, when my son goes to college, I'm going to say, okay, Dax, it's time to go to college. I want you to get a student loan. And then when you graduate, mommy and daddy are going to write a check and pay off your student loan. But I want to let you know, if you don't graduate, if you drop out or do something like that, I am not going to be paying off your student loan. That'll be on your shoulders. So number one, as a parent, I have a reward if he finishes, and there's pain if he doesn't. But what I'm going to do is let my money sit in this account and grow. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bachelor's. And if he wants to get the master's, 5. And then I go 6. So now he gets his master's. Let's say he has a loan balance of 150 grand or whatever it is. I can now take my money out of here, write a check and pay off his loan. And I use some of the profits on my account to pay for college. Because generally, for the most part, student loans are not due and payable. You don't have to make a payment until after you graduate. So I'm going to leave my money in here with the potential to grow. If I don't want any risk and I want to earmark 150 grand in my account, I can move it to the index option where I have no risk of loss, but still market performance. So I could take 150 grand of my money back here and allocate it with that index account with a safety net. So I know it will be there no matter what when he graduates, and yet I can still get market return. So that's pretty cool. The second story I always explain is, let's say, Mr. Client, later on in life, I don't know, you're 6 years old, your kids are out of the house, your first home's paid off. You might want to buy a second property somewhere, a log cabin in the woods out in Utah. Let's say 300 grand would get you a really nice log cabin, let me tell you. So you've got 946 grand in this. The question is, could you take out 300 grand, write a check out of this, and basically pay off that second home free and clear? Yes, you could. But for me personally, I'm not going to be doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go talk to my tax professional, and I'm going to say, look, I want to buy a second property. Can you set up some kind of a corporation or an LLC or something? And I want to buy this property through the LLC, and I want to do a 30-year loan on it. And is there any way that you can write off the interest on those payments? and I might Airbnb it when I'm not using it and try and get it to pay for itself. So basically, I'm going to leave my money in my VUL, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make my regular payments on a 30-year loan. And in the first 7 years, the majority of that payment's going to interest, which if you have a good tax advisor, they can probably find a way to deduct that interest being charged. So now I leave my money in here for 7 years and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wherever it's at in the cash value, right? Now, obviously, I'm starting to take out money. That's why it stopped growing as fast. But understand that now in 7 years, I can take my money out of here and pay off the balance on that home. Let's say the balance is 250 grand. And if I took it out here, the whole 300, guess what? I'm going to deplete this asset prematurely, which means that later on I'm going to have less growth. So why would I ever do that when I can properly leverage the money the right way? And if I ever want to pay it off, I can pay off the house free and clear, but I can benchmark maybe a 7 or 8% return on this, where maybe I'm being charged 3 or 4% on the loan, and I can deduct that loan interest, and I can get this money growing in here interest tax free, and I can get some growth on it. So I take the profits of my money I'm earning over those 7 years, and I can then pay off that second home free and clear. And I got 7 years of tax write-offs through that corporation. So you can use that kind of an example. Again, I'm not a tax professional. That's why I say consult with your tax professional. But this is just an example of a way you can use this tool. So personally, I never use a child's IUL to fund the child's education. I will use the parents' IUL that they're funding a lot of money into. And then just like I mentioned before, I will use, like as a parent, my IUL as leverage to pay off the student loan. My IULs and VULs that I have for my kids, those are set for their future. That's like long-term money. And there's other examples on that where if you put in like on mine, I put in close to a couple $100 a month for each child since they were born, pretty much. I think they were like 3 or 4 weeks old when I got their social security number, and then boom, I started their accounts. But by the time that they're in retirement, just at like a 7% return averaged out, they're gonna have anywhere from about 150 something thousand that I put in. But when they're 25, part of their graduation is I'll change the ownership to them, and I'll tell them, you guys keep putting in this money. And if you just stay at that pace, you'll put in about 150, 160 grand. But at retirement at 7% return, they're going to get back several hundred grand a year. If they live to 100, and I benchmarked the numbers, they got back in their pocket close to $4 million tax-free at retirement. And the money we put in together over time was only about just under 200 a month, close to 160 grand that was put in exchange for 4 million tax-free income. That's why, like, I'm looking at Fabi's little one right there. I'm going, man, what a bright future, right? Because time can be your greatest adversary if you don't have time. It can be your greatest ally if you have time. So starting young is so important, especially. So as a parent, all of us that have children, build your business, get moneyed up, go out there and start really making a difference. And if you got kids or grandkids, as a grandparent, as a parent, fund those. My mom started to fund my kids and my sister's kids from when they were little, like less than 1 year old. So thank you, Mom. As a grandmother, you set that example for us. And then now, Jerry and I, we picked up ours, Lauren picked up hers, but my mom started it, right? So I'm thankful for that. And so anyways, that's all I have for today. And I appreciate the time. If there is time for questions and answers, I will take some. If not, I'll let the AV team let me know where we're at. But thank you, everybody. Have a safe and happy Halloween. By the way, happy anniversary to Paul and Miriam. Today's their anniversary, so sending my best to everybody. All right, I think we're good. Very good. Judy, back to you. You're on mute, Judy. There you go.
Awesome. Wow, Steve. I should call you like Professor Steve A. You always bring tons and tons and tons of values. It also makes us realize the reason why we're here at WFG and what it's done for all the families that we've helped, all the families that you've helped. And your, Hague family is a great example that you can be in business with your family, have fun, and also build a business. I love you said, build business and get moneyed up. Wow, that's absolutely, absolutely amazing. So again, we want to thank you for all the values. I'm so glad this is recorded because I'm definitely going to listen to it again and share it with my team. So with that being said, I think we are ready to wrap up. And again, I just want to say thank you for the behind the scenes people, to all of our wonderful, wonderful, spectacular, teachers today, or for the ones that teach the class. And I just want to say, stay safe, be kind, and don't forget to vote. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.